सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। कटाक्षकिरणाचान्त नमन्मोहाब्धये नमः। अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये। Page 46, 13th shloka. षड्विकारवतां वेत्ता निर्विकारो'हमन्यथā तद्विकारānusandhānaṃ sarvathā nāvakalpate। षड्विकारवतां vettā. Vettā, the knower, the one who is conscious of. Ṣaḍvikāravat, the 6 kinds of modifications. Asti, asti, that which is conceived. Then jayate, born. Vardhate, exponentially grows. So much so that when the child starts growing, every 2 to 3 months, 3 months max, the clothes have to keep changing. Vardhate. Viparinamate, there is a complete transformation. The boy becomes a man, the girl becomes a woman. Viparinamate. And then you reach to the peak of expression. After that peak of expression, it is downhill. Asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate. Apakshiyate, one by one, kshina happens. The capacities start dwindling. Kshiyate, apakshiyate. It's not just one off. Everything starts dwindling. Apakshiyate. And then vinashyati, completely is destroyed in that form. In and through all these different stages, there is one common thing that does not go through vikara. It's a very important concept, that which we extend into the field of sadhana as wherever there is vikara, there has to be a samskara. To reach to a point wherein both samskara and vikara are renounced. Hand has some dirt on it, and then I use the soap, clean the hand with the soap, and then both the dirt and the soap have to be washed away clean. That's when the vastu becomes clean. So vikara, the modifications that are happening, there has to be something that has been consistent in recognizing those changes without becoming that which has changed. When I say that conceived, born, grows, transforms, deteriorates, and gets destroyed. Through all of these various changes that happen, there has to be something which is consistent. From that consistent, as though all of these transformations happen, and when the transformation ends, that constant still remains. There is gold. The gold is extracted. That which was as an ore, we extracted. And from that gold, jayate, different forms can be created. And since they are the exterior most expression, there are people that constantly want to change. What are they changing? Different shapes and forms, different names and forms, different utilities. Things have become old, things have become old-fashioned. Old, because sometimes, though the shape is given, a large shape is given, it is not that it is solid gold, it is mostly hollow. Inside is hollow. So sometimes dent and things happen, it become old. Sometimes it is old-fashioned. And then something modern looking is created. It's also cyclical in nature. And then you again transform it to ancient looking. What is the word? Antique looking. Antique looking. That becomes the fashion. Whatever is the transformation that it happens, and when it goes to the goldsmith, he puts all of it into the, what do you call it, kiln. So there is a material which it can boil everything down, it becomes liquid, and then they again reshape it depending on what kind of shape and size and format that it has to be. Some things are flattened out, some things are drawn as a string, Some things are, given different peculiar shapes. There are these lacquer. So they design everything on the lacquer. And then the mold is poured in. And then all these different pieces which are molded in are connected. And then again re-welded. Now comes the new format. Through and through there is changeless entity which has been constant. So ṣaḍvikāravatāṃ vettā. So what is the understanding? All these different changes that happen, I am not that which is changing. The moment I observe that there is a change, that unto which the changes are happening is not me, that constant who is the knower of these changes. Body changes, mind changes, emotions change, intellect changes, memories change, everything changes. As of yesterday, we also saw that the identifier, the ego, and the entire conglomerate of it, entire combination of it, the complex of the body, mind, intellect, organs of perception, action, pranas, all of these are identified with, and that entity also is not constant. That fellow also, where is his very existence when the reflecting surface itself is absent? Based on the memory, that fellow strings together to say, I continue. That I had a complete cessation. We are coming from that cessation to the class, where I, the ego, did not exist. So all these transformations are being seen, perceived, known, and that knower continues to illumine without getting changed. Now what is the sadhana here? Wherever there are changes happening, we get embroiled into the environment wherein we try to understand who, what, where, when changed, and try to maintain a changeless discipline. Struggle begins there. What are we trying to maintain changelessly? That which is of the nature of change. When you look at your old photographs, I don't understand the concept when you go to somebody's house where they have had griha pravesha, wedding, or some kind of an event. There is an album created and they give you that album, a whole thick book, and you go through that entire album under 5 minutes, flip through. And fellow says, must have gone to get some chai for you, and by the time that fellow returns, you have already done with that book. I said, नहीं देखा? देख लिया. नहीं मैं दिखाता हूँ. And that fellow cherishes, enjoys it, or at least he has given you a cup of tea. So now while sipping, your limit is, until I finish this, show me whatever you want to. Because as much as interest of that fellow who has that event, your interest is not there. Or when you look at your own photos, वो भी क्या दिन थे. Each photo, there's so much of time spent. And what is the clarity that you are seeing? That I was that then, now I am so changed. But in that very statement that I am changed lies in our flaw. What is changing? I am is not changing. Because all that which changes is not me, something other than me is changing. Classic case, girl meets a boy, boy meets a girl, and then they fall in love, get married. Within a year or two, one of them complains, you have changed completely. You are not the same. What do they mean you have changed completely? Your habits have changed. Your, the attitude has changed. Your expressions have changed. Earlier when we had started, obviously there both of them are trying to impress each other. When you are trying to impress each other, do you put your best foot forward or the worst foot forward? And then we know that to create that impression, we have a saying, right? First impression is the best impression. You don't go straight from your bed, just wake up and then put on your chappal and go meet. कितनी तैयारी करके जाते हैं. The clothes, the shoes, and once the proximity, the impression has worked, the proximity has grown. No, you cannot expect that spick and span, that kind of environment continuously. It changes. That which you presented, that is why I tell those young couple when they're thinking of getting married, I say, how much do you trust each other? Because without the trust there is no scope for love. How much do you trust each other? Oh, very much. Have you expressed your worst of vulnerabilities to each other and still okay with it? To trust the other person with your weakest of the vulnerabilities. Because there you are not trying to impress. When that doesn't happen, then there is complaints. You have changed. Change is obvious. But what is being expected? That when it was then, now it has to continue the same. What we sought, that we loved, is not a changeless entity. But the expectation is that the changelessness should continue from that which is bound to change. Okay, is our problem only in our expectations from the outside? From ourselves as well. And then we start digging into the attributes and qualities of that which is changing. Try identifying as to where, when, how this change is happening, and try to control the change so that it remains changeless. As far as I know, with all the study that we do of Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, Purana, wherever there is an individual who has put an effort to maintain that which is bound to change as a changeless entity, we call them as asuras. What is their end goal of their tapas? Hiranyakashipu has done thorough research. He says, though my end goal is that this body, this entity that I am should be eternal. As soon as Brahmaji appears, he asks that, knowing very well that it will be rejected. He says, as a creator, I cannot afford to give you that boon. That with this entity that you are, that be eternal. So, the reason I say he did enough research, he says, I knew it. And then he starts asking, I should not die during the daytime or the night time. He thought, time is covered. I should not die inside or outside. I should not die up or down. I should not die this, I should not die that. A funny thing, Brahmaji also came prepared. That this fellow has done a vigorous tapas. So he goes with his Sapta Rishis. Sapta Rishis are standing behind him, and conveniently Brahmaji has 4 heads. One head facing Hiranyakashipu, the other 3 heads facing the Sapta Rishis. Like when you go to a legal battle, you go with a team of lawyers. So he had a team of lawyers. Their job was to tell Brahmaji if there is a loophole in that which has been asked. So one head, he is looking at him saying, okay, go on. He says, I should not die inside or outside. So Brahmaji with the 3 heads is looking at those 7 people. Is there a loophole? Granted. He says, okay. What was the Asura's plan? And the funny thing is, just before he went to this tapas, he had lost his brother, Hiranyaksha, to the Varaha avatar. Varaha avatar had killed him. His bhabi and mother, his sister-in-law and his mother, are devastated at that news. So that Hiranyakashipu Upadesha to his mother and sister-in-law, if you remove Hiranyakashipu Vacha and read that content, it almost feels like a cut and paste from Bhagavad Gita. He says, you think that he has been killed. That which is eternal, how can you even assume that it has been killed? Ekdam serious Vedanta. He gives a relief to his sister-in-law and mother. And after having given paravachana, not pravachana, vachana meant for others, then he comes, does this severe tapas, expecting what? Contradicting every point that which he has tried convincing his mother and his sister-in-law. Because the idea is, I should continue this eternity through this. And that has not been just, in the Puranas, Itihasas and the scriptures. The entire field of civilization anywhere, to find that continuity, pyramids, or they have now started creating cryogenic pods where the body is in a deep freeze, that if and when there is a technology, it would be reinfused so that they are back. You have seen that, right? There are many wealthy people, famous people that they don't get it burnt or buried. They put it in cryogenic pods. Why this sophistication? Every product out there in the market which we can exist without is trying to sell it to us, saying, use my product and you will continue to cherish continuity of changelessness. Anti-aging cream. There are the products, right? And what is the advertisement? You apply this cream and you will look. But people forget to see that those fellows, every year the model changes. See, I would have trusted that product if 20 years ago when you launched the product, whichever model that you went with, still the same, and because of the application of this particular whatever cream or product that you have created, they have remained the same. 20 years ago, 20 years later. Every year they change, because they also understand that who is promoting my product is bound to change. Earlier there was only one product. Godrej used to produce it. The darkening of the hair. Now there are umpteen number. Not just to blacken the hair, but different shades of colors. Why? The continuity is how you are seen. And I'll tell you the most bizarre thing that has happened. There was a person and he comes to me and says, Swamiji, I have just had this hair regrowth, hair transplant. So hair transplant. You have to take out 15 days and I will take care of it. They will remove the hair from the back and then they put it on the front. They will make it lush growth in the front. I said, I'll take care of all the kharcha for it. I found it very bizarre because it costs quite a bit. I said, whatever you are intending to pay for, write a check and give it. And I will use it for something else. No. That is meant only for if you go there. Now the continuity to exist and persist changelessly through that which is definite, certain to be, bound to be changing. If not changing, at least extend the longevity of it. And I find that, having stayed there in the Western world, I find that more so there, because their books have prescribed that it is only one life for them. The psychological impact of it is, if it is one life, Let me try extending it to as much longer as possible. Even in them, they have the different kinds of concepts that continue to eternity. There's something that happens, a bizarre thing that happens, and suddenly a superhero is born, that which cannot be destroyed by anything. The vividness of imagination, that eternity of continuation should persist, has always been something which as humanity we have sought. But through what? Through all these that are bound to change. See, the food that nourishes, the food that sustains this body does not have permanency. You leave it at room temperature, it will get destroyed in 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours. It starts changing its texture, it starts changing its smell, it starts putrefying. That which has gone in to nourish does not have that permanency, but the product of it has to be remaining permanent. The body, mind, intellect, the field of experiences, they have to be impeccable, that thing should change. We are caught up in a very vicious cycle. If the premise is understood, then what is he saying? If there is something which is changing, it cannot be the vettā, the knower. Even the intellect with which we very vehemently use to validate everything, that itself is not permanent. Why is this knowledge very important? Once I realize that the intellect itself is not permanent, because in this world, amongst the things that are well respected is somebody who has a sharp intellect. Memorizes, remembers, can pull it up at fast pace. Like the other day, ASCII, when we had gone, the officer who is now in charge, while dropping us at the car, he says, the first part of lecture, which was 1 hour, I could have given you the credit that you have prepared well. But when the questions were asked, the readiness with which you have answered, maybe I have seen several professors and several intellectual giants, they would immediately, try pulling out books and texts and start, referring to it and then give an answer. When your readiness, the sharpness with which you have answered, seems like that is valued a lot. Even that fellow is not permanent. That intellect is not permanent. When the intellect itself is not permanent, that which is reflecting on that intellect as a reflected consciousness because of who I am identifying with all the layers and creating the pseudo existence as me, how permanent can that fellow be? If this is not permanent, if this is just a reflection, what is it that is permanent is that which is reflecting in this surface, which is my actuality, which is my reality. Vettā is that, the knower is that which cannot change. ṣaḍvikāravatāṃ vettā nirvikāraha aham anyatha. Nirvikāraha, absolutely changeless, is this vettā, and which is other than any kind of changes. So evaluate in one's own, where are the changes happening? But instead of evaluating and understanding the nature of change, we start giving attributes to those changes. Good change, bad change, decent change, indecent change. And the constant effort is to maintain the goodness, the decency, the positivity. And we intend to limit ourselves in saying that much is spirituality. Polarities, swinging in polarities, or trying to maintain to not swing in polarities, is a baby step into spirituality. That is not the end in all. All the values, ethics, morals, a disciplined way of living it to convert the values into virtues, it is still in that realm of polarity. Polarity meaning dvandva. If it has taken a swing this side, obviously it is a pendulum motion, it will go on the other side. From this end to that end, it will keep swinging. The purpose of all of this given in sadhana is not to remain there, is to come to that point where the inner is accessible so that I can manage it to get out of that cycle. But where do we get caught up? The whole effort goes in trying to maintain that polarity. All the value system is to maintain that polarity. No, Swamiji, it is to maintain the goodness, the decency, the positivity. But the moment you say you are trying to maintain it, there is always a fear that it will slip to the other end. And we have seen so many times that it slips. Obviously, it is a motion that will have two ends of it. The purpose is not to maintain it on one end. The purpose is to take it to that end wherein the internal, meaning the mind intellect, is accessible more easily. Thus, thereby I have the opportunity to create that space within so that I can get out of the cycle. Not to constantly try, I have swung this side, now I have to swing the other side. And then we have a big issue about that identity, because now that mood swings. I love that word. One part of it I understand in Sanskritam, the other part in English. Who swings? Moodha swings. Therefore, there is mood swing. That is just a basic step. That is just an introductory step. Because these changes will happen because it is bound in that realm of changes. Then why is this effort? The effort is only the initial part wherein I have to pull myself to that realm of possibility from where I can get out of this cycling. Because I am not that which is constantly fluctuating and changing. Does this change? We talk about Vishwamitra in a very lighter vein or even in a ridiculing manner. He fell down so many times. Baba, he fell down only 3 times. We keep falling every moment of our life. What was the first fall? The first fall was after he had started doing the sadhana and tapas, the first fall was with the kama vasana. And who came to distract him? Urvasi. Then became the power. Trishanku came. And then he put all his tapashakti in trying to maintain him and create an alternate Swarga-like situation for him. Then came Rambha to test him again. Then he said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And after such tapas, he falls giving in to his anger. And then he converts her into a stone, Shilavat. And then realizes, Arre Baba, again I lost it. In his entire life, that was the 3 times that he fell. But what is more important is the resilience with which he rose up again to reach to that point where that swinging doesn't happen anymore. Because as long as we are focused on the swinging, it is in the layer of matter. It is only the matter that changes. And what matters is not the changes in the matter, is how I rise above it and transcend it and its influence. That is the sadhana. Because Vastu, the matter, it will change, let it change. Our effort is not to stop that change, is to reach to that point. See, every day there is the cleaning lady that comes, wipes all the chair, all the floor. See, that which changes, that which gets dusty and mala comes on it. So you have a certain process in which that mala is removed. To do what? To create the space where this can happen. The purpose is not to keep it just clean because it is dusty. The purpose is to clean so that there is less of agitation within. Thereby I create the space, thereby I create the room of opportunity for myself to transcend. Why is there so much of a focus on it? Because that is the layer where we are attached the most. Ayoyo, changes are happening. Ayoyo, change is happening. I am changing. You are not changing. The instruments or the matter layers which you cannot stop will change. While it is changing, create that room of space so that you can transcend that identity. Why? Because vettā nirvikāro'hamanyathā. And it is other than the nature of the ṣaḍvikāravatāṃ, the matter layer. So he continues to say in the next sentence, tadvikārānusandhānaṃ sarvathā nāvakalpate. If this is not the case, if what is not the case, if we were to resign to the fact that maybe I also am constantly changing, therefore there is no scope, there is no hope, there is no possibility of me being that permanent in nature. See, many people say that naturally you want to aim for happiness, peace and contentment. But equally naturally, we are sad, agitated and frustrated very easily. Maybe that is how we have to be. Accept it. Can we? Likewise, here the question stipulated is, maybe all these changes we were supposed to, because even the I is constantly changing. Says, if it were so that even the I is constantly changing, then he says, tadvikārānusandhānaṃ nāvakalpate. Then I would not have had the capacity to even recognize that there is constant change. I am able to observe that there is constant change only because I am viewing it from that changeless platform. For the wheel to rotate, I need a changeless, unmoving road. For the aircraft to fly, I need a constant of space. So something which is other than the movement has to be there for it to be cognized, that there is a movement. Which is my experience. That as soon as there is a change, I am able to recognize it. That means there is someone, based on that observation, that I am able to observe and note the changes. What do we mean by change? That whatever was the previous conditioning is not this conditioning anymore. That change that is happening in the conditioning, there is someone which is available to watch it, witness it, and be aware of it. Therefore, to say and give up saying that maybe I was supposed to constantly change. This is called kshanikavada. We are unnecessarily trying to put the effort to stop and say that, I am changeless. Maybe we were supposed to change. Accept it. You will be at peace. You cannot be at peace because the very fact that I am aware that things are changing, because you all choose to sit in that particular angle chair or wherever, my mind also has adapted that I don't need to count how many of you are there. If that space is filled, then I know you are there. If that space is not filled, then I know you are not there. But you being there in that condition and not being there condition, there is something which is being aware of it. And that which is being aware of it has to be of the nature of permanency, of the nature of constant. Therefore, I am able to see the change. Now, the theory of, the concept of relativity, you will observe that you are going fast in comparison with something which is not moving. Supposing both of you are moving at the same speed, that is a stipulation. He says, then you will not see that there is a change. If that is also moving, the conscious principle, is also moving along with it at the same pace, then there is no possibility of seeing that there is a change. But if I am able to see the change, that means there is something constant. That constant is what we call as the Atma Chaitanya. Otherwise, there is no possibility of visualizing and understanding that there is a change happening. But sadly, we don't take to that platform of the observer. We are so engrossed and identified with the changes that we end up concluding saying, I am the change. I am that which is changing. When Gurudev used to come, we used to run around, we used to do, Swamiji. Tab, in those days, I was young. Now I am old. Who is getting young to old? It's the body. But if you change the sentence there, from that observer standpoint, then what would be the statement? Oh, that time the body was agile. Now the body has lost that capacity. What have you created? A distance from that which is changing, and saying that the changes are happening in that realm, to that vastu, to that matter. Even if we make that slight change in our understanding and expression of vocabulary, I think we have made a huge progress. Otherwise, we constantly keep harping about I the Atma Chaitanya, but that Atma Chaitanya doesn't get young, doesn't get old, it is eternal. But yet, what is my experience saying, reinforcing? That I was young, I am old. I was born, I will be dead. What is that change happening to? To the body, to the mind, to the intellect, to the layer of matter. And certainly I am able to see the changes only because there is that constant, thereby I am recognizing the change. Therefore I cannot be the change. Am I getting across? nāvakalpate. ṣaḍvikāravatāṃ vettā, nirvikāro'hamanyathā, tadvikārānusandhānaṃ, sarvathā nāvakalpate. And this is sarvathā nāvakalpate. We can never ever come to the conclusion that I also must be changing along with it. That kshanikavada doesn't apply. Therefore, kshanikavada fails to sustain the logic. If kshanikavada is understood, tomorrow we will see kshanika vijnanavada, another interesting concept. See, if we look at it from a very academic standpoint, that this is Advaita Vedanta Siddhanta, this is Bauddha Siddhanta. In Bauddha Siddhanta there is Kshanikavada, Kshanika Vijnanavada, Shunyavada, there are different Vadas. And see that Vada and this Vada, this can be, there are fallacies in this Vada, and that fallacies are pointed out by the Advaita Vedanta. Therefore the khandana of it is done. Academically we have reached to that point. Our purpose in studying Vedanta is not to reach to the academic glory. What do those academic technical terms really mean? Does it even apply to me or not? So therefore, until I reach to the last point, I did not say that this was Kshanikavada. But now once you see it applied and how we get carried away, thinking that Kshanikavada is true, and also it has been disproven that it cannot be true, that the focus is shifted from just mere academic logical pursuit to its application pursuit. We'll continue tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaः, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.